Hello, Tim from Fairplay Now on the 6th of April 2023. Last kind of working day before Easter here. And like I said yesterday, I'm probably going to make one or two videos over the Easter period, but it's not going to be every day. So may I wish you a very happy Easter. Like I say, I might catch up with you a couple of times over the period, but have a great one, and I will sort of be back to normal on Tuesday. But I thought I'd just talk about a couple of things before the Easter break. There's some interesting news at the moment here and there. I'll just mention a couple of them. First of all, we've got this whole Donald Trump thing, haven't we? Don't know what you make of that, whether it's just a huge distraction, or whether you think he's going to end up going to prison, or whether it's kind of some kind of Trump strategy to make things backfire and make his opponents look really bad in the end. Who knows? But haven't really got too much of an opinion on that one personally, but I thought I'd mention it. But talking about arrests, it's interesting that Nicola Sturgeon's husband has been arrested in Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon, of course, until very recently was Scotland's first minister, leader of the SNP there. And, well, is that the reason why she resigned? She resigned quite suddenly and without much warning. Did she think it was on the cards that her husband and possibly herself as well were going to be getting into hot water very soon? So it'll be very interesting to see how things pan out there. If irregularities have occurred, the husband needs to go to prison, and if that's what the punishment is, and if Sturgeon herself has been involved, and when you consider she was leader of the SNP and the guy's wife, how could she not know what he was up to, and that things were going on? And yeah, she may well end up in prison as well, who knows? Then again, could just end up being a huge great whitewash, and off they some deals done and off they go, into the sunset kind of thing. But we shall see how that pans out. I know I've got quite a lot of Scottish viewers, so leave a comment in the comment section below what you think of all of this thing sort of going on up there in your country. It'd be very interesting to see. Another bit of news. This is a little bit, well, very cheery news actually. I don't know if you've seen this, but apparently they had some kind of vote in Berlin recently, and about net zero. It was, basically, do they want the city to go with the whole net zero nonsense or not? And apparently a whopping majority of them, 82%, 85% of Berliners basically said no thank you. And of course all of the climate con people are up in arms, they're outraged, they can't believe it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a huge setback for these people, especially when you consider that Germany have had a green movement far longer than we have here in the UK. They had sort of quite a prominent Green Party years ago, going right the way back to the 80s, 70s, maybe even before that. And they were very much, or have been very much, into all of this sort of green stuff. And also when you consider Berlin, obviously the capital city, if they're like any other capital city in the West, it's probably woke central as well. So for Berlin to give that kind of result to the climate nonsense, net zero, is really quite something. It would have been another thing if some rural place in Germany, the middle of Bavaria or something, had sort of come out with that kind of result, that'd have been one thing. But for Berlin to have a result like that just shows that the vast majority of people out there think that the net zero and the climate stuff is just a load of nonsense. And it is quite obvious that this whole thing is just being used to restrict our freedoms, to take our freedoms away from us. They've kind of had the whole lurgy thing. They took freedom away there, but that is only ever going to be a temporary thing. With the climate stuff, it could be a lot more permanent. So they're probably thinking, and they're doing what they can to take people's freedoms away from them. But it seems like a lot of people are waking up to it and standing up to it and just saying, no, thank you. That does beg the question, of course, or it illustrates the point that despite these large majorities, a lot of these people still ignore that and carry on regardless, don't they? And Sadiq Khan in London ignored a huge majority in a consultation which basically said no to his ULEZ expansion plans, yet he carried on regardless. There's a huge majority of people in another consultation in Oxford that said no to the kind of 15-minute city plans there, and yet they're ignoring it. So who knows, probably things will sort of go the same way in Germany and Berlin as well. And that's what we need to stand up to, and we just need to call these people out for being anti-freedom, anti-democratic, and whatever we can to show these people for the tyrants they really are. And I do believe that there are two tribes, if you like. I'm not talking about the old Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, but there seems to be two tribes of people, doesn't there? Two camps. On the one side, you've got people who would rather have safety over and above freedom, and then on the other side it's the other way around. There's people like us out there who would rather have freedom at the expense of safety, and that's become also clear, so very clear in the last 3 years, hasn't it? And you've got these kind of climate nutters who are screaming to the governments and stuff, oh, please keep us safe, please save us from the all the climate disaster that's going to surely come, please save us. We don't care what you do, just lock everybody down in climate lockdowns, we don't care, just save us, save us, save us. And then on the other side, you've got people who sort of, well, think it's a load of nonsense anyway, can see through the sham and just sees obviously there's no real emergency coming, and they can recognise it for the power grab that it really is, and they're saying no thank you, we want to keep our freedom, thank you very much, we want to keep our freedom to travel, whether it's just in this country, outside of a 15-minute zone, or indeed going abroad even to other countries. It's our God-given right to travel, and that is what we need to be free to do. Obviously we also need to be free to whether we want to go to a restaurant, whether we want to go to cinema without any kind of restrictions. We need to have freedom to say what we want, unless it's obviously if you're inciting violence, that's another thing. But if you're just coming out with a political statement, you should be, or a belief, you should be free to do that without fear of censorship, without fear of your social credit score going down, which means you can't travel as far as you could before, or it means you can't go into a restaurant or a shop or something. And of course, the big one, we need to have the freedom to decide what we want to have going into our own bodies. We do not need governments and large corporations and billionaires, etc., telling us, and celebrities telling us, oh, you need to have this procedure, otherwise you're against society, you're a bad person. No, that doesn't wash. Freedom, an individual's freedom is by far, it's far more important than safety. And I don't care if something 10 times worse than the lurgy that we've had over the last 3 years comes along. Well, some people might say 10 times sweet FA is still sweet FA, as one of my old bosses used to say, but you know what I mean. If something really bad came along, I don't care. I'm still not going to obey lockdowns and have things put into my body. I'm still going to think that freedom is more important, and if that kind of costs me my life, so be it. Freedom is, because it's not just your future that's at stake, it's people who are very young, or indeed haven't even been born yet, and to just kind of scupper any hope they might have in the future for freedom just for your own personal safety. No, that's not good enough as far as I'm concerned. That's not good enough at all. And in some ways, I think it's cowardly, really. I'm afraid it's putting it strongly, yeah, but I think it's cowardly to put your safety over and above the freedom of people who haven't even been born yet. They're certainly not going to thank you if they're born into a society with way less freedom than we've enjoyed. They're really not going to thank you at all. So, yeah, freedom, I think, is by far the most important thing. And I really do believe in, well, I think it'd be so much better if we just had a much smaller government. You know, we could probably get rid of 90% of government structure, and I'm pretty sure we'd still manage just fine. And a little thought I had recently is, why is it that anarchists who kind of believe in absolutely no government whatsoever are seen as that's seen as a left-wing thing, and libertarians, which is almost the same, they kind of believe in almost no government or minimal amount of government rather than absolutely no government, so not far from anarchy, but they're seen as right-wing. That's a right-wing philosophy. That's a peculiar one, isn't it? Just a bit of food for thought. So anyway, we're getting up to 14 odd minutes here, and I like to keep these videos under 15 if I possibly can, or not much more than that. So gonna leave it. I'm gonna wish you a great Easter. Like I say, I'll be back once or twice over the period, but otherwise have a good one, and I'll talk to you very soon. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.